compliments that men rarely hear, but really want to hear. Why is that important? If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Robert Manny, the host of Guys Radio and TV, right here on YouTube, and the author of the Guys Guide to Love. Thanks for being here again, Robert.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Silka.
Well, today I want to revisit a conversation we had actually a couple of years back. Compliments that men rarely hear, but really want to hear. Why is that important? And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Men are the ones who are, quote, supposed to give the compliments, while women take them, but they don't necessarily give them back. So I thought that was worth revisiting. It is an important topic, Robert. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. Guys enjoy compliments, and most of them feel that they don't get enough of them. So if you're thinking about that, ladies, don't hold back if you're having a compliment, as long as it's sincere, because they'll see through it if it's just like you just blowing smoke their way.
If you think about it, I mean, really, men don't often get compliments because they're the ones that are supposed to give them. And where women expect the compliments. So I can see where, that's something that if you're trying to especially get someone's attention, either you're dating someone new or you're in a long-term relationship, if you all of a sudden or perhaps incorporate more compliments, that might just change the trajectory of where you are currently. So anyway, let's get down to some specific ones here. Number one, you make me feel safe. That this is something that makes the man feel like a man. I personally think it makes me sound like a damsel in distress, but you say that make me feel or you make me feel safe is a good one.
Well, you rarely hear that. A guy rarely hears that, but it's expected. So I think an acknowledgement of their dependability, not just a physical thing, but maybe emotional also, is a really good thing. So I think deep down, a guy likes to hear that because they're probably doing that already, but they're not hearing anything about it because they think it's expected and they don't mind doing it. It's just kind of what guys do, hopefully. And if they hear somebody say, you make me feel safe, obviously it should have some context, just not like, good morning, hey, you make me feel safe. There should be something behind a specific reason or instance, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Don't hold back. The thing is on compliments, Silka, is they don't cost anything. Just be sincere.
Yeah, I guess maybe, and we had talked about this before the show. We're going over a couple of these, and Robert said, "No, I think that's really important." And even as we talk about it, I would feel like I wasn't being sincere. Like, oh, you make me feel so safe. So I want to hear from our guys. Do you, what do you think about that one? Because I personally would not feel comfortable saying that. I feel like I was making fun rather than meaning it. And Robert obviously disagrees with me. So I think that's an interesting point.
Don't you want your guy to make you feel safe though?
Absolutely. I'm saying to say it because, as I said earlier, it makes me feel like I'm weak. And I don't know why I'm not saying I'm right by any means. I'm just sharing something that was definitely in my head. And I actually thought you were going to agree with me because I wasn't going to say this one. And you said, no, that's an important one. So, and that's why we have you here.
It's about, I got this type of thing, which can be a good thing. That you want a guy to be, that you're confident that he's confident that he can take care of things. So you feel secure. So you feel safe. So just tell him that. I'm not saying every day, but maybe there's something specific. Yeah. You had a situation and you thank him. I think that's a really good thing. And I think a guy, even though he's doing his duty, his manly duty sometimes, it's nice to hear a compliment on that, an acknowledgement. Sure.
No, I'm glad we talked about that. I think it may be a very important point. Here's one that I really like. I trust your judgment. I think that we don't say that enough. And, just tell somebody that I respect how you handled the situation.
I think that's important because if you're in a long-term relationship, you're going to go back and forth and making a lot of decisions together. And obviously, two heads are better than one. And if your partner needs to know that he's on equal or she's on equal footing in terms of input So I think if you're saying I trust your judgment, it's a good thing to hear. Obviously, you do to a certain extent, or you wouldn't be with the person. But if you're always overriding his decisions or judgment, it's just after a while, it becomes like, why should I even bother if she's going
Mm-hmm.
to like has the final call? So hearing that now and then, that I trust your judgment, whether you use those exact words or not, I think the intention is a really good one, and I think the takeaway is going to be really positive.
Yes, that you also you've got great instinct, or I trust your gut. That would mean a lot to me hearing that. I just you're, I've got something up here. So that I think that's a great one. Another one, you look sexy. That men, and I actually said that to Paula because he does, but he always says that he thinks I'm kidding. Like, because I said, well, I tell you you're sexy all the time. Why do you? And he goes, well, yeah, but you're just saying that as a joke. I said, no, I'm not. But I think that's a compliment that's a little, or for me again, kind of hard to give without like having a little, smirk to where it may come across as not being sincere.
I think most guys want to hear that they look sexy or they're sexy or doing something sexy or that was sexy. Now, a lot of times guys are going to take it literally as like, oh, then let's have sex right now. And that may not be the actual case. It might be way later after we come back from dinner or whatever. But I think it's a nice compliment as long as it's not overused and it's used when you think the guy knows that he's looking sharp. But that's the cherry on it. That's a good thing.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I guess I'll have to start saying it, or just watch how I say it when I really mean it. So anyway, here's another one. It kind of goes to I trust your judgment, but I admire how you handle that. Yeah, and I do say that because he deals with unsatisfied customers all the time. So, and the way he handles that calmly, or how he handles certain people that are screaming at him, so I like how you handle that. And I don't know if men hear that a lot.
It's a real skill, and I think men need to hear it, and I think women need to hear it. People who do any type of service business, of course, need to hear it, and they never get it. They usually just it's like being an umpire at a baseball game. You only hear the bad news, the complaints. But relationships can be like that also, that you don't get the acknowledgement that you're doing some good things there. So any positive input can go a long way. And I think a lot of guys wish they had more positive input from their partners instead of the old finger wag.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Like another good example here is, I would have lost it, but you stayed so calm. I really admire that. I think that's really built. Again, if it's accurate, that would be a really good thing to say out loud.
Yeah, I mean, because you're being specific about a certain situation and one that you had an emotional reaction to, and he or your partner had a different reaction that kind of calmed the things down. That's important. That's a really good thing, and acknowledging that is nothing but positive, in my opinion. And the guy doesn't have to hear it, but if he does hear it, that's a good thing.
Here's another one that I certainly agree with. You're a good man. You're a good man that speaks to his integrity and identity. You're a good man.
I think that's a wonderful thing to say if it's sincere, and also, and if you're not being sincere, you have some fun. You say you're a bad man.
You're so good,
Perfect.
you're bad. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
see, that's what
You're
I
so
would
bad,
think.
you're good.
They say here, this is funny too, what not to say in this case. You're better than most guys I've met. So that's not a
No,
good one. You're better than
no.
most guys I've met. No, just you're a good man. Yeah,
What's wrong
if
with
that's
that? What could
yeah,
be wrong with that?
yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think men would like to hear that? Are those good
Sure.
words to
Yeah.
use?
As
Yeah.
long as it's not, well, they like to hear they're sexy probably more than you're a good man, but being a good man is probably more important than being sexy and wearing a certain shirt or something, whatever.
Yeah.
It's all based on human nature, but sure, you're a good man is a very powerful, meaningful statement. And it's like a great compliment to hear. So I think guys would like to hear that.
Yeah, because at first it hit me like, you're a good boy, like just tell your son. But
Get a
no,
treat.
it's you're a good man is yeah. Okay, so again, we can look at the comments and see how others feel about those words out there. Here's one that I again love. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. What do you think, Robert?
I think if it's proud of what happened in a certain situation, makes it a lot more powerful. Just saying I'm proud of you, it sounds like something you might say to a child. And I think it's more than that. And it could be a big accomplishment, whether it be career wise or something else. But it's a really good thing to hear. But I think it's more powerful if you attach the context to it. I'm really proud of how you handle that, or just how you're doing overall, but a little more to it, so he understands versus pat on the head.
He says here, what not to say. It's about time you figured that out. That's
That's a
good
good one. I like
opposite. Or that's what you should have done in the first place.
that.
I guess we always have the negative spin as, yeah, men probably hear that more than I'm proud of you. So anyway, good point. Now here, I don't know how often you'd say this and be sincere. You really listen to me. And I love that about you. You really listen to me.
Well, I think the second part of that is equally, if not more important than the first part. Because if you just say you listen to me, it's a little bit, it could be taken the wrong way. Like that's your duty and you did your duty, but it's really meant to be something more than that. That like you heard me. It's not just you listened. You really heard. It was what I didn't say that came through. The message got through. Thank you for understanding, which is really what you're saying when you say you listened to me. It's like you heard what I was saying and you understood that. And you didn't give me too much pushback or whatever. There's a lot to it. So it's always about what was left unsaid. That's really the most important.
Good point. Yeah. Well, and men, we accuse men so often of not listening, for one reason. A lot of times they don't, which is why I said, can you say this sincerely? But if they do, and if you really do feel good about him listening to you, and like Robert said, he heard you, then reinforce that behavior versus, what they say here. Oh, for once you actually listened. For once,
well, the other thing in relationships, a lot of times a guy is on the receiving end of a lot of input. And sometimes, we don't listen that well. And other times we do hear it, but we may not process it, or it seems like such a minor thing that you might need to be told more than once, which is disrespectful in a way, but not intentional. And then sometimes we'll forget it and we don't even know that we were told that. I mean, I get that a lot. Like I told you this, blah, 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 about where we keep this glass or something or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I don't remember hearing that, but I've been reminded that I was told that more than once. And it's just, that's just life. So you just deal with it and be as nice as possible about it from both sides of the fence.
You only hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Here's another good one. See what you think about this. I love the way your mind works. I think that speaks to his intelligence, but in a way that maybe he hasn't heard or hasn't been told.
I think that's a wonderful one because it's specific, it's personal, and it is validating because he's hearing something that he probably thought already, but it was great coming from you. So I think that's wonderful. And usually it's based on a specific situation that he figured out. And you like the way he did that. So liking the way his mind works, that's a huge compliment. Guys love hearing that.
Yeah, I'm going to remember that too. One thing that I do tell Paul, because it's accurate, he has the ability to talk about to contribute to almost any topic, any conversation in a way that sounds like he's an expert in it. And I don't think he realizes how that even comes across. So I tell him that I'm just astonished that you can contribute this way. And I hear that from other people, and I know when I say that or when I remind him of that he just you can see just floating on clouds as he should be. So think about that.
Great skill. It's a great skill. Not every person, not every guy has that, so good for him. That's awesome.
Well, here's just a few more that I came across. I appreciate you. Thanks for doing that. I really feel good when I'm with you. I want you, things like that. We don't talk about that enough. I want you. I want you and I want to be with you. I like those. I think that's a simple reminder. Those are easy to say, especially the I appreciate you. What would you add, Robert, from a man's point of view? Are there specific compliments that you like or that you hear other men really want?
I don't know. I don't really, personally need to hear like, I want you, I want to be with you. I kind of, well, if you don't, what are you doing here? I would think like do you think I'm going to dump you? I would be wondering like what's behind. I was like, what's the real question here? Because words are words, but the intention behind them is what I'm always looking for. So I don't know if those are necessary to say I want to be with you. Just like because guys are like, as I mentioned, if they don't say anything, it usually means because they're happy. If they have an issue, they'll bring it up and they're going to hear you out. And that's how, in my opinion, that's how we roll. So I don't think you need to go there. But if you want to, there's nothing wrong with it. But he might think like, did she think I'm going to dump her? Is she saying I want to be with you? Like, what does that mean? I don't want to be with you. You think I'm going to like that, because that's how sometimes guys might unravel that, unpack it.
That is so interesting that your reaction to that again points out where maybe what men and women are different. Okay, you guys comment on that as well, because I would think
I
I
could
would
be
think that's
wrong.
well, no. Well, we both can be wrong.
Sure.
But it's again where our mind goes and what we don't think about. So who knows? Maybe somebody out there, including us, have learned something. Robert, thank you. I really appreciate you. I like that one. I do. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all your input. Thank you so much for being here all the time with me. I will link to all of your information to your radio show, Guys Radio, and Guys TV right here on YouTube. Check the show notes and subscribe and pick up the book, The Guys Guide to Love. Robert, I'll see you next time on Second Act TV.
Thank you, Silka. Thanks, everybody.